what I see is like, like the parts department will say this is supposed to be charged to this,
Yeah.
but they don't know where it is. And I'm just like, okay, but like, how much is it to this?
Hmm.
Which, so there's kind of like that thing where it's communicating between that stuff because instead of back and forth being like, yes, but like, what do you really mean? It's more trying to explain, like, kind of like to kind of explain it to them so then they kind of understand from an accounting perspective, and then also like the
Hmm.
parts department or the sales department or
Yeah. Yeah.
like all
Yeah,
the
no,
other
it
departments.
it it
Yeah.
boils down to the individual. If they understand the how all departments intertwine with each other. Because from an accounting standpoint, you mentioned that you're working in the past to catch up at all times, right? But that's also a good thing because you that's where auditing comes in. So you will see if there's any
Yeah.
discrepancies that were done and if they were following the processes, which is also
Yeah.
important, right? Because other dealerships I've worked with, they've had someone in charge of compliance,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? And compliant, yeah, the compliance officer will pick up everything. It's more like
Yeah,
an
yeah.
internal auditor, and they will pick up if anything is going on between the parts department and the sales department, if persons are undermining the warranty processes and all these things. So it is really an important aspect, right?
Yeah.
So even though you're working in the past, it is actually a good thing to catch up, to catch any discrepancies that has taken place, or to see,
Yeah.
or to track breadcrumbs. That's what they
Yeah,
call it.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
If there's
part
a
of it,
trend,
it
yeah,
is working in the past, but then it's also kind of like being able to like see the trends, right? And
yes,
to report to be like, okay, like we can kind of veer a little bit this way, veer a little bit that way to
yeah.
be like faster or more efficient or like better for the customer, like for the business and everything. But yeah, like a lot of it is like, oh wait, this is, and then like asking questions. I think accounting tends to ask a lot, the most questions. They're like, where is
Yes,
it
yes.
supposed to
And
go?
yeah, and
And I'm like,
service
well, who
departments,
said yes?
service department gets annoyed always.
Yeah, I look, as someone who started in service, I have seen it both ways.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, like, and like, I mean, I work with the sales department too, and everything. So I'm just like, I see it both ways. I can see why it's kind of annoying. That is like, there's a little frustrating sometimes when they're asking things about stuff that happened. Like, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I sent an email. Did I send an email? Like that kind of thing to explain. Because I'm like, for accounting, like we have vendors that we have to like pay bills to
Yeah.
as
Hmm.
well, right? Like, but then we also have to work with the dealerships that like are actually face to face with some of these vendors, like
Yeah.
our tinting businesses and everything. And so it's a lot of like, we will pay the bill, we just don't know what department is supposed to be expensed to.
Yeah. 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 Because
Right? So it's a
everything goes to a
juggle.
particular account. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a juggle because you also don't want to put it to the wrong account, and
Hmm.
then you have to like make adjustments and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's better to kind of try to figure out the first time and put it in the right, like allocate it correctly the first time as opposed to later and then that kind of thing. But I
Hmm.
I think I think like what it's easier to like maybe be on site and like speak, be able to speak with like the department heads, like department managers and like all that stuff, to kind of like, so then we get answers at the time as opposed to when we see it at the end of the month,
Yeah.
right? And then like it's a lot of waiting game where you're just like, where did this come from? And then the department, like the department will be like, let me get back to you. And like to kind of like catch up where it is, and we're like, okay, so what department is it supposed to go to, who's using this like expense kind of thing.
Hmm.
So it's a lot of that. I think like if we're able to like communicate quicker, more efficiently, but then also support the departments to be like, if like if you want to like have like this new thing, like just kind of like write it down, explain it, so then accounting knows where it's supposed to go, so
Go. Yeah.
accounting can like allocate it correctly instead of having to always kind of like, where did this come from?
Hmm.
Right. And so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Which leads me to my next question to you. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced while working at a dealership?
I mean, I guess from what I've seen, and I guess what we also kind of discussed a couple points before, it's a lot of it is the waiting game. It's like following up. A lot of it is following up.
Yeah.
So we're kind of waiting, where did this come from? Well, like, why did we pay it this way and not this way? Where is this supposed to go? Like, being able to find, like, track the breadcrumbs, right? To figure out like where it's supposed to actually go, where expenses are, where money even is. We're like, okay, we collected this money, but where's it supposed to go?
Yeah.
is is something that I find is I see the most. A lot of it is, from an accounting perspective, is just kind of like trying to account for everything. Like, things just kind of float up to the top, which
Mhm.
is, I guess, sometimes they think, like, accounting can figure it out, but like accounting sometimes wasn't there that day, so accounting doesn't know why
Mhm.
we spent this
Right.
or why we collected this money, right? And so, like, I think being able to, like, communicate with the other departments to kind of pass on information that is useful, or that's important
Yeah.
for like accounting to kind of like follow up or like to proceed with their stuff, right? I mean, I think the challenges of like accounting has been like closing the books and everything used to take like a week, 2 weeks sometimes. Like some
Yeah.
dealerships I've heard like 2 weeks to close the previous month.
Mhm.
Right? And like, and I think a lot of it is because we're just kind of waiting to, like, okay, we need answers, we'll wait. Right? But
Mhm.
like, I find what's happening is that we need the answers faster and faster and quicker, so then like we can close and report, like, earnings and everything earlier than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? And so like, I think like, the like being able to support the departments and like to kind of show them that it's not like we're asking because we just want to know. It's more like it's asking because we have to report. We have to kind of like pass on the information too to
Mhm.
operational managers and all that stuff. And so, yeah, like, that's like the biggest kind of challenge, I think, from the accounting perspective of
Yeah.
the dealership level.
Yeah, yeah, because and every time the system changes, if they move from, say for instance, they move from ADP to a Reynolds on Reynolds, or to an automate system, then accounting has to transfer all their accounting files and their journals and everything and update, and then they have to reconcile again, and it's
Yeah,
it's really tedious. Yeah. So a lot of people don't.
somebody's got to do it, right?
Yeah, so
It's
exactly.
usually
Someone's
us.
got
It's usually us.
to. Yeah, I know you're absolutely correct. Someone has to do it.
Yeah.
Someone definitely has to do it. But in terms of the challenges you encountered, what are some of the strategies you used? Well, personally, from your standpoint.
Well, I mean, I found being which, I mean, it's the whole like work-life balance too, but like being available to the other departments, like being able to support the other departments, like
Mm.
if they have a question they don't know where it's supposed to go, to
Right.
call or email, or in the our we have like a group kind of chat thing
Yeah.
on all of our computers, like to just kind of like say, hey, where am I supposed to go with this, or what account do you want to
Hmm.
put this to, or what the vendor number, customer number, or vendor number that we're supposed to like charge this to, like being able to kind of like answer those questions kind of like live at, or not live, but like kind of like at the time, like when there's like a customer standing in front of the service advisor, or
Yeah.
there's a body shop standing in front of the parts department, like being able to kind of like provide them that information at the time, I think really helps accounting, but then also helps the parts department like later down the line, because they already kind of know. We don't have to then at the end of the month, we don't have to like go back and be like, hey, do you remember at the beginning of the month you talked to this one body shop person, like what's their name, like like what's their address, because their address is like incorrect, or there's a discrepancy there, that type of thing. So
Hmm.
like I think being able to, and also just kind of like communicating with them, like, oh, I we need this because of this, or maybe setting up kind of procedures that will kind of help the other departments. Like I found helping them will help accounting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so like supporting the other departments will also support, like it helps accounting in the end. So like if we can kind of like maybe set up like accountant, like little accounts that explain what it is, like this is for office supplies, right? Or
Yeah.
like this is for like this kind of expense or that kind of expense, instead of just like a number, which doesn't mean anything to the other departments, but mean a lot to accounting. I think kind of like adding in that extra programming to explain what it is will help the other departments, and then also ultimately help accounting kind of like account for everything, right? Instead of like having to wait, having to kind of like ask, and then also relying on the other departments to provide those answers when we need it. But then when they need answers, it's all there's like this delay kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.